These raised beds behind me here have had a great run. We've been harvesting off them for about 5 months. They have absolutely crushed it. But now some of the crops are done. And I have a couple of choices what I could do here. I could either leave it and just let it go and replant in the fall or spring, or I could replant now in July. But the key is they have to be quick growing crops that I can get a harvest from in about 6 to 8 weeks. And that's what I'm going to show you today. And I'm also going to show you exactly how to determine what to plant now, so you have time to get a harvest in before fall. First, I'm going to start by clearing the beds. And I always like to look for, is a plant still producing and holding its space, or is it completely done and needs to come out? So a few examples of plants I'm leaving in are these cucumbers. Lots of cucumbers still on the vine, lots of flowers. This plant is actually in pretty good shape. It does need some pruning and trimming up, but it's staying in. With a new dose of fertilizer, I'm going to get a lot more production out of it. Another good example is my sun gold tomato, which we have harvested tons of tomatoes off this already. You can tell it's still absolutely loaded down with tomatoes. Needs some trimming up, but this one is definitely staying. Now, in huge contrast are a lot of my greens here. These were cool weather greens, arugula, and you can see here they're bolting, kind of crispy from the heat. Definitely need to come out. So we're going to go ahead and pull those out now. And this is going to open up a ton of space here for some new vegetables. And these, because they have no pests or disease on them, can be composted. Nasturtiums, brown, crispy, they're done coming out. My beds are lined with strawberries, and they're perennial, so they're staying in, and they'll probably start producing again later in the summer, but they definitely need a trimming to take off all these brown leaves. Took a little bit of a beating with the summer heat. The squash I'm leaving in because we've been harvesting off it at least once a week, but it does need some trimming up. It doesn't need all these old leaves that are kind of at the bottom of the stem here, so they're coming off, and it'll send more energy into producing fresh new growth for the plant. Trimming it up will give it a whole new lease on life. Now you can see here the leaves at the bottom of the plant are the older leaves, and they're definitely yellowing, starting to get a little bit of powdery mildew. So we're taking those off. Clean up the plant and help some fresh new growth come on. Now, since these have a little bit of powdery mildew, I don't want to put them into my compost because I don't want to spread that to the rest of my garden. So they're going in a separate bin, and these will be tossed. The front of the bed is cleaned up and pruned. And let's talk for just a moment here about the kale and the chard at the back. It does have some powdery mildew, and I'm actually looking in here now. It's got a lot of aphids on it too. If you look in here, the curled leaves are a sure sign of aphids. Ooh, I really miss that infestation. That is nasty. Now, normally I would spray this, but I'm actually going to cut the plant back, so I'm not going to spray it, and that will get rid of the aphids. Now, kale, you don't have to pull here when it started to bolt. You can cut it back and then leave it in your garden bed, and it will grow back in a few weeks, and you'll have fresh, new baby green. So we're just going to snip it here at this tall, thick stalk. Very carefully remove it so as not to shake the aphids all over the garden bed. I'm not going to compost this one either because we don't want to spread aphids through the compost or that powdery mildew through the compost. And then we're going to do the same with the chard back here, which is definitely bolting and looking pretty beat up. And believe it or not, this will grow back and I'll have some fresh new greens in about a month or so. Next, it's time to refresh our bed with some good nutrients here so the plants can regrow. But first I'm going to loosen the soil just a little bit. Now I used a great raised bed mix, the bumper crop raised bed mix. So it's actually pretty loose, but just to kind of rough up the surface a little bit, get in here with my Hodag rake just to loosen it up and make it ready for fresh seeds. And I'll put a link to this in the video description. I love it. It's super sturdy and really gets the job done. I'm just going to lift up my drip irrigation here just a little bit to give me some room to add some extra soil. Because my raised bed soil has settled just a little bit, and because I've been growing in it for about 5 months, definitely have to add some fresh nutrients. So the plants have what they need to keep on growing. And here I'm adding the Bumper Crop Organic Soil Builder. It's got all kinds of good nutrients in it. I've been using this all season long. It's great to top off raised beds, to use in your in-ground gardens. So I'm just going to add a couple inches to the top here. And also has really good moisture retentive properties to it. So my soil and my plants don't get too dried out in the heat. I'm just going to spread this throughout my garden bed and then push the drip irrigation back in place. I'm also adding a granular fertilizer, the bumper crop tomato and veg fertilizer. So it replenishes this bed of nutrients. And I'm especially focusing this around the plants that are already growing in here. So it'll really give them what they need to keep producing the rest of the summer. I'm also going to add a few handfuls of the Monterey Dr. Iron. Now this really helps with yellowing leaves. And I noticed on my cucumbers, the leaves are really yellow. So we'll just mix this in here. And iron also helps all the NPK and the nutrients in the granular fertilizer I just added all work together better. And a few handfuls for this garden bed once or twice a season is all I need. Now here in July, the garden is not over. It's actually your last chance to get some new vegetables planted. Here's how to determine what to plant in your garden beds right now in July, so you have time to get a harvest in before fall. First of all, look at the weather patterns in your area. When does it start to cool off? Next, look at the seed that you want to plant and look on the back of the packet, and usually it will say the days to maturity or the days from seed to harvest. And you want to count backwards from when the weather gets cooler until now and see if you have enough time to harvest. For example, the Diva cucumbers take about 45 to 60 days to harvest. Now I know I've got at least 3 months of warm weather left, so I have plenty of time to get a harvest in before fall. So if the weather cools off in your area, say September and October, the Diva cucumbers are a great choice for you. And just apply that same principle to whatever varieties you want to plant right now in July. But they definitely should be quick growing varieties that mature in about 40 to 60 days. Now I'm going to replant this garden bed entirely from seed, because have you seen the price of transplants at the garden center lately? It's crazy. And by growing from seed, I can save money and still have time to get things harvested by the end of the summer. So what we're going to do is start from the front, move to the back. Now this garden bed is a partially shaded area, so that's definitely something you want to keep in mind when you're replanting. If you want more vegetables, plant in full sun, but because this garden bed's in partial shade, I'm going to plant vegetables that would do well in partial shade. I might not get quite as much out of them, but I'll still be able to utilize this garden space. Now, because this squash is going to be dying out probably within a month or so, I'm going to plant some more. And this is partial Eclipse scalloped squash from my late summer garden seed collection, which, by the way, I've just revamped my late summer garden and my heat tolerant and my fall garden seed collections. I've got brand new fresh varieties. So right now I'm just going to poke a seed in there. That seed will pop up in maybe a week or so. And when these squash die out, we'll have brand new squash to take its place. And I like to plant those along the edges because they kind of spill over the garden bed, so it really makes good use of my space. And here in the middle, I'm going to actually plant some more greens. These are the Florida broadleaf greens, mustard greens, from my heat tolerant green seed collection. And this time of the year, we are getting so much heat that I'm definitely planting greens that will thrive in the summer heat. These are super easy to just direct seed. Just sprinkle down a nice little swath of seeds here. They'll pop up fast. We'll be harvesting these in about a month. I'm also going to pop in some of the red amaranth. And amaranth is a beautiful kind of nutty green. Really beautiful. It can grow quite tall, but I'm going to keep it at the baby leaf size so that I can harvest it for salad greens later in the summer. And the seeds are super tiny, so just pop them over the soil and then just kind of push them down. Going to plant some of the Prospera compact basil right now, and I love to plant this type of basil at this point in the growing season because it's a more compact variety, a little bit smaller, grows faster. This is a pelleted seed, so it's really easy to handle in the garden, and these will be ready to harvest probably in about a month or so. When I'm replanting a raised bed, I like to go with a thriller, filler, and spiller philosophy here. Got my spillers in the front, the squash. My fillers will be the greens in the middle. Going to plant a few more fillers here along the back. I have my red Russian kale that I just trimmed that will be popping up soon, and my chard. But I'm going to plant something to add a little bit of variety to the garden. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes later in the summer I get bored of the same old, same old. So this is KX kale from my heat tolerant green seed collection. It's a really beautiful kind of purple leafed kale. And you can harvest it at baby leaves, and it's super, super tender. So just kind of working that in. Now along the back here, I'm going to plant some of the teddy bear sunflowers. These are such a cute little sunflower. You might have seen them on my July what to plant video. These will help bring in the pollinators, which is very important later in the summer. We don't want to forget about the bees and the butterflies to come in to pollinate our vegetables. But these are only about 2 feet tall. So they're perfect for the back of the garden bed. Nice compact flowers that'll bloom in about 40 days or so. And because they're in the back of the garden bed, they're not going to shade out the plants in the front. One more thing to plant in this garden bed are the thrillers. Now, I already have some thrillers growing up this trellis here, but I'm going to plant some more because these might be dying out in a month or so. So we've got some extra Diva cucumber seeds here from my late summer garden seed collection. And by the way, that collection is designed to plant now in the late summer. I did all the heavy lifting for you. These are all quick growing crops that you'll be able to get a harvest from in about 30 to 60 days. There's 8 varieties in that collection. They're perfect to grow now in the late summer. I've already got a little cucumber popping up there that I planted a few weeks ago. So I'm just planting about 3 or 4 more seeds. And again, succession planting. So when these die out, we're planting in succession, so I'll have a fresh new wave of vegetables popping up to take their place. So I always have something to harvest. The last step here is to water everything in, and I'm using the Monterey Fish and Guano fertilizer, especially on the plants that I'm leaving in. Because I prune them heavily, I want some brand new leafy growth. And it's got a good combination of nitrogen and the fish guano to really help them start flowering and fruiting again and putting out new leaves. And all the vegetables I planted in here will grow well in about 4 to 6 hours of sun a day. So if you've got a partially shaded area, they're great choices for you. And go back and watch our video on 20 vegetables to plant in partial shade for more info on that. What a difference between the 2 beds. Do nothing, everything will die out, no harvest. Refresh, flip the bed, replant. I'll be harvesting by the end of the summer. I'll be reading in the comments which one you're going to do. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden.